Thanks, Elliot. They told me to break a leg, but I kind of took it too literally. I really love the name of this session about theory. Actually, I really like the name of session 6, cool new stuff. You know? It's really good. This talk is kind of the opposite. I have to be honest with you. It's about stuff like that board over there. It's going to be cool. I'll promise you that. But it's not exactly new. It's a look back at some of the earliest tangible computing projects here in the Bay Area. Now, today in 2015, so much computing is embedded in our world. Objects can be transformed literally overnight into other objects, like your car that transforms into a different car with auto high beams right there in your garage, right? It's amazing. So the train has already left the station in terms of environments magically modified by computing. And I'm going to say the more solutions we have to drive that train, the better. At Interval Research, participants taught us lots about computing as they engaged in behaviors that involved hands and whole bodies, physics and symbols, toys and games, sound, and light reflecting off of objects. I'm going to try to convince you repeatedly to wonder something that we wondered then over on Page Mill Road. How are we going to deal with all the smart objects that are going to fill our environment? Looking back, you know, it was not just the newness of the tangibles work that was important. It was how we considered its impact on people and how we let people teach us what was easy and what was hard for them. Understanding the design features of this work is of urgent interest because, you know, we've still got a chance for non-isolating tangible computing that's going to enable a habitat that equips people to live and work together in the same space with equal control. Now, finally, I'm going to issue a promissory note right now to tell you about a functioning system that has been deployed by a significant number of users to pique your interest. It's fault-tolerant, low-cost, well-designed, infinitely scalable, radically recyclable, and the kicker is it's manufacturable in any home or work environment by almost any human being. Okay, let's turn now to the 4 projects. Interval attracted computer scientists, designers, engineers, social scientists, and artists, and all of them had to work together, which was great fun, to be honest. They immediately began investigating patterns of play, including physical toys for controlling on-screen action. Was it possible to change how kids related to other people and to their surroundings in the presence of computers? Let's look first at a pirate ship. Zowie was an Interval startup that created a play setting on screen that was also embodied in the world. Toys were embedded with a flat antenna, electromagnetic sensors, and transmitter pucks. Here we see Redbeard's Pirate Quest. The game could use up to 99 pucks or for figurines or what have you, and it could be manufactured at the time for under $5. Movement sensed on Redbeard's ship triggered animation of the toy characters on screen. Now, kids understood that from the perspective of the computer, only certain objects were tightly coupled to the code. So, for instance, when a child moved the toy telescope, the entire scene on the computer changed. Like I've been mentioning people, patterns, and designing physical environments. And it might bring to mind Christopher Alexander for some of you. That work is relevant, but I'm not talking about a pattern language, but about the design features of human language. And that's something I want to give you to take away with in your work today. Displacement is one such design feature. Think of it as reference at a distance. Things don't have to be physically present in order to be represented, right? Kids get this, and they blend the physical, the abstract, and the computational. In LA's Enchanted Garden, toys represented characters on the screen, or maybe vice versa. Anyway, kids knew toys and images represented the same characters in their mind. When two toys were moved together in the real world, they began to talk on screen. So here's what stood out. Whereas lots of design in this period was isolating in its emphasis on one person, one machine, one interface for control, you know, that's kind of a blinkered vision of life when you think about it, kind of like when people design neighborhoods without sidewalks, right? In contrast, Zowie treated multiple kids playing in the physical world as the norm. So with Zowie, we've just seen that it was okay that the world in the kids' monitor did not exactly match the world next to their knees and elbows. Kids could abstract away from the loose coupling between the physical environment and the virtual. Let's turn now to this board. If you want to stand up to see it better, it's okay. You see a wooden board over there. It's a little hard from your angle. Toontown was very much about reference and representation. In the next examples, I'll be talking about the board. Toontown was one interface to our experimental office audio conference system over on Page Mill. Cartoon characters, I don't know if you can see this, were attached to simple wooden blocks like this. And there are many whiteboards velcroed on for annotation. Each block contained a Dallas semiconductor chip with a unique 48-bit ID. A microprocessor sensed when and where a block was placed on a board. A block down signaled an event that could be interpreted as, for instance, open Sean's audio feed. Figurines stood for real people. Let's talk about the social aspect of this system and how we got surprised in good and not such good ways. Another design feature is choice to communicate. This is called immutability. Inter-office contact was not automatically triggered. The Toontown interface granted lots of power and control over who got to hear what, including the ability to cloak some behaviors. Prevarication, the ability to lie or deceive, is a design feature of sophisticated communication systems. With the ability to make the remote person audible or to silence them without their knowing, participants experience themselves as vulnerable subjects. The researchers set aside, they bracketed their ideas in trying to understand their experimental system, in effect assuming a phenomenological stance. Look, today it might strike us as funny, but the system made them wonder, how will users feel about picking up people by their heads? Would they flick people off the board when they didn't want to listen to them? Tangible representations serve as loci of meaning, of power. The Toontown project made plain that social implications arise from using physical objects to represent people. Now let's look at some other uses of this board. Flipping our question around about smart objects, we could equally wonder, what can we do when the set size of objects is actually big enough to be interesting? In 1994, our in-house video ethnographers followed along with a Lollapalooza concert tour. You heard of that? Accumulating video and a big video logging problem. Ostensibly, the video was for consumer research, but it gave us researchers a sandbox to play, with digital media. The game board, this time, it did not have cartoon figures. It just had simple wooden blocks that were labeled. It was for collaborative logging, and you probably know that's a mind-numbing job. It's really hard to log. So the idea was to have other people and the world around to help. A logger would drop a block onto the board, and it would snap into place with a click and a tone, automatically labeling video. Labeled blocks could signify anything: people, abstractions, camera angles, or even time.
So is tech term gone?
Ooh, that's nice.
Okay, that's close up.
Meta moshing.
And now you just have to like push it on when she comes in the way and get ready to go. Here she comes, here she comes, here she comes, she comes. Don't put it down yet. Until not. There she is. Yes. Okay, you got it. Yeah, good job.
See how being in the physical world led to like rhythmic physical actions such as emptying the board? The activity was social. The activity was available for examination and feedback. But what were these new blocks? Contrast this system to a modern editing keyboard with fixed labeled keys. A block was not an icon like a trash can on screen. Certainly not an index like a footprint in the sand. The team used blocks as dynamic vehicles for representation. Along with extensibility, the design feature here is arbitrariness of sign. And even Aristotle wrote about the arbitrariness of code. They invented an arbitrary connections between language token and the thing signified. Now, look more carefully at the blocks and their markings, and think of logographic systems that augment straightforward pictograms, like making the sign "No dogs allowed." Think of Chinese characters. Most characters exhibit the trick of including both sound and meaning. That helps manage the huge inventory size. The reason I point this out is that people are really good at combining meaningless bits into meaningful assemblages. And that's a powerful design feature that we should not ignore as developers. Now, it was the loggers who invented this symbolic aspect of the system. Its significance is only evident when there's a sufficient quantity of tokens and when users are not isolated. By the end of the experiment, loggers had defined more than 80 categories, and they used around 20 repeatedly. The set size in tangible systems matters. The multidimensional space was efficient. Unlike in a GUI, loggers could select one item from 80 without having to scroll or pop up a menu. The linguistic-like design features were dependence on social community, cultural transmission, total feedback. Loggers could see their own actions as well as those of others and could control and modify their actions. Arbitrariness of sign, combining bits into meaning, and learnability and extensibility. Logjam could be repurposed in theory, and as I learned last week, the system has been repurposed in practice, this time for sound composition, right here at Karma, Stanford's Music and Acoustics Center.
Then we have a scratching, so you can restart all the sound files.
See how these composers can collaborate, see and hear their actions, control and modify them with arbitrary tokens. With a large system where people can assign complex symbolic content, the world helps participants both on and off screen. It's a good design challenge to let the world help and not hurt the computational play experience. At the startup ePlanet, we imagined kids controlling worlds on screen using gesture in their whole bodies. They would star in their own games. We knew a virtual green screen was going to be hard to build because frankly, the hardware was different back then. And also, no one knew how to do it. Simple frame differencing wasn't going to cut it. And we couldn't control the light conditions in the home or extraneous movement like curtains blowing or your little brother wandering by. We didn't want to ship special backdrops for the kids or for them to have to wear reflective markers. It would look like this.
Electric Planet's background.
The team solved how to track bodies, head location, and arms at over 30 frames a second with the 90s hardware, which was kind of amazing. They recognize gesture as well as performing background subtraction and green screen compositing for the home. So here's what was shipped. I don't know if you can see that. And kids understood what to do, and they liked seeing themselves on screen. A separate ePlanet product, which didn't ship, showed the relationship to the computer in a different way. This was a 3D on-screen creature, an alien.
Ah! Oh my gosh! Please don't do that!
Using Electric Planet's new input technology, FreebleNux is able to respond in fun and interesting ways to movement, lights, sound, color, and number of people.
Strange blue material.
Hey, I'm wearing blue.
People can finally act like a person in front of the computer. And that means that we can create a character that feels like it's real, that people believe in.
Hey! Where are you going?
So the computer vision people, the games designers, they relished in this realization that symbols can be handled and touched, sorted, categorized, and played with. Recognizing materiality means designing for our habitat and for our bodies. FreebleNux was less like Apple's future all-knowing Siri and more like a bumbling ghost in the machine. A child could readily accept an amazed alien wanting to make sense of this amazing Earth world. The Internet of Things is going to have an interface. The press uses interesting words: aware, sentient, the smart home, the conscious home. As Stephen Levy put it, the push is on to vivify all the dumb, banal, and annoying products in our lives. Remember how we solve TV by imposing one control for the whole household? Smart devices now use touchscreen GUIs on cell phones or even on that remote control again. Who gets to program the environment that forms our life? Who's in charge? The mysterious system I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, that already deployed, infinitely scalable system, I don't know if you've guessed it by now. It's human language with features including immutability, prevarication, displacement, total feedback, learnability, extensibility, and more. In the next few years, we'd like to see a manufacturer let people collaboratively construct their own experience using richer tools than a small 2D GUI display. We also hope that all the inhabitants have access to a common understanding of the tokens, reference, syntax, and semantics of the system. Tangible interfaces can bring in the benefits of the world around us. I believe this, and they make use of our perceptual and linguistic abilities. When people are not shut off from the physical world and from other people, they gain a supportive environment that helps them manage large sets of objects and reference. And they can share knowledge with large sets of others. This retrospective look demonstrated it's not the gesture technology, the speech, the gaze, or the brain waves we design with that really matter. It's how the design shapes the way people interact with each other and play. Thank you.
We have time for some questions. I see Hiroshi's already here.
Hiroshi from MIT Media. I have a strong admiration to all the pioneers who developed the foundation of tangible embodied interaction. It's amazing, all the 1990s. So my question is, there was amazing stuff like a Zawi. And we went to eBay to buy all the leftover Zawi to make a sense table because there's something there. But I wonder why they are gone. Then for me, Pixel Empire conquered this planet. Everything sucked into the black hole of the graphical user interface. Even though we knew tangibility board is important. So I wonder, what is your thoughts? What made this significant delay that the people catch up? This community is great, but still a long way to go. I'm curious about why they are gone. Why it takes so long?
It's a terrific question, Hiroshi, and you know, I have all these co-authors that you can't see on the stage. There are like 30, 40 of them, and it was a very fertile period. And the more I look at it, the more I realize what a rich vein of research we had there on both coasts. You know, companies acquired some of the fledgling startups, and for whatever reasons, some of the products just vanished. So that's one thing. But I think I'd like to ponder your question more because as the hardware improved so quickly, we could have done a lot more. And why did the Connect take so long? It was hard, but yeah.
Thank you very much for reminding us. Amazing pioneering work in interval research.
Thank you, Hiroshi.
Cool. Okay. Looks like there are no further questions. We're a little bit behind schedule, so we'll keep moving from here. Can everyone please thank Meg?
Thank you.